Welcome to Kick Up the Sass. No fluff, no faffing, just some real talk coaching. I'm Alice, your coach, and each week I unpack what's happening in my client check-in forms, including mindset struggles, nutrition and workout tweaks, blockers, wins, so you walk away stronger, sexier, and more badass than you were when you started. Hi, okay, welcome to this week's check-in form Q&A. I'm really excited. There's quite a few really good ones. So let's get straight into it. First one is about weekend nutrition and remaining consistent and staying on track over the weekend. This came up a couple of times actually, and also came up in terms of like holidays and things. So I'll just talk specifically about the weekend because I did cover holidays last time. So with the weekend, I think this is a lot of people's downfall, and you're absolutely not alone if you struggle on a weekend. And it is because of the lack of routine. So one thing that I do, which I didn't used to do, and this is only something I've done in the past couple of years, but I found it really helps me, is I will always have the same breakfast. I say always, 95% of the time, pretty much unless I'm at someone else's house. But even if I'm at someone else's house, I'll try and replicate my breakfast at home. So if you've been having, let's use my breakfast as an example, porridge and a protein shake and some fruit for breakfast, or Greek yogurt and fruit, have that for your breakfast on a weekend. It will make such a difference. And if you don't want the same breakfast, have a weekend equivalent, but create a weekend routine with your food. So that's my little mic, by the way. I can't, if I clip it onto my dress, it's going to go under my chin. So I'm just holding it. I thought it would improve the sound quality, and then I just thought I need to apologize for it. Anyway, you want to try and create the same consistency you have through the week, because the weekend is actually quite a long chunk of time. 2 days out of 7 is a big percentage of your week and will really impact your progress. So I would start with breakfast and really getting your protein in there, because this will help you not be so like picky through the day. And then try and then also have like structure around lunch and dinner. And even if that means planning your meals, or like if you know you're going to be going out for brunch. So a mistake I used to make a lot was, if we were going out for brunch, I wouldn't have breakfast, because I'd be like, oh well, it's the same. But we wouldn't be eating till like 10:30, 11. Whereas during the week, I have my breakfast at between, well, it depends when I get up, between 6:30 and 8, depending on the day. So kind of not having breakfast was really throwing out like my hunger signals, throwing out my amount of protein. I wasn't getting enough protein in because I'm missing an entire meal, and my energy would dip in the afternoon. So the first thing I want you to really look at is getting in breakfast and nailing that. So just create your own weekend breakfast, whatever you want that to be. It could even be like protein pancakes, or like the Aldi protein pancakes. You know, if you do want it to feel not like the week, because I get that, you know, it's the weekend. We do want to like feel like we're not in the working week. So have a go at doing that. And then the next thing is obviously lunch. And again, like if we're at home, we kind of have the same lunch that we have during the week, like chicken and flatbread, or jacket potato, or leftovers, spag ball, something like that. Like, try and see it as just another day of the week, rather than like, oh, it's the weekend. Like, it is just another meal. And I think the more kind of basic bits you go with it, the easier it becomes. When you're trying to be a bit like wild, you're making life harder for yourself. If you are eating out, let's say you've had your breakfast and then you've gone out for brunch or lunch because it's the weekend, go for a high protein option. So I'm trying to think what I had last week. We went out for brunch on Saturday. What did I eat? What did I order? Oh, it was quite a late brunch. It was like lunch. I had chili and a jacket potato because I had a long afternoon at a soft play party afterwards, and I didn't want to be picking at the soft play party. So I made sure I had a really filling lunch that was high protein. So jacket potato I had, and then what else? So normally I would have like eggs, probably poached, because you can't really account for the oils that they're cooking in, or like if you get scrambled, you don't know how much milk they've put in and things like that. So poached eggs is normally a good option, or an omelette. Or if you're tracking and you're happy to and you're tracking over the weekend, you could just get something like a bacon sandwich and just track it. Like, okay, this looks like 3 rashers of bacon and a red bun. So I would say like you're gonna get the best consistency if you try and carry on tracking through the weekend. Start your day with a lot of protein, and in all your other meals, aim for high protein. So let's say it's Saturday evening, and you're like, oh God, really, really, really don't want to cook a meal, which is fair. So this leads me nicely on to the next question, which was on the same check-in form, and I think it's a really great follow-up. Some fake away ideas. Love, love, love. So I love a fake away, honestly. It doesn't even have to be as complicated as like making your own fake away. I used to make my own fake away and really overcomplicate things. But now what I do is I go to Aldi, I buy a pizza, like a small pizza, and add some more chicken to it. And it's like 600 or 700 calories and like 50 grams of protein or something insane, maybe 60 grams. I'm not tracking at the moment. But the small Aldi pizzas, just the normal ones, not even the protein ones, you can get the protein pizzas. I think the protein ones are like 35 grams or 39 grams, 30 something grams of protein. I think like 35, 40 grams and like 400 calories. They're really good. I like to have even more protein than that at the moment just because of the amount of training I'm doing with rugby. So I add some chicken as extra to it. But if you just, this is a little hack. If you don't want to get the protein ones, you just get a normal, like the single portion. I'm just trying to do this with while holding the mic. The single portion protein sour, not protein, the single portion sourdough pizzas. I really like the hot honey one. I think it's like 500 calories. So it's still not ridiculous. And like 30 grams of protein. So I would get a supermarket pizza and add some extra protein to it. Or like just get a supermarket curry or just make a curry. I also love making burgers or just buy in. Like again, I've kind of gone into a bit of like my lazy era. If you'd asked me this question pre-baby, I'd have been like, yeah, make this, do this. And now I'm like, just buy pizza. Just buy some burgers. But it's the same. Like you don't need to make a tortilla-based pizza. You could just buy a pizza, especially if you're tracking your calories. Like, you know, it's gonna fit. Yeah, getting burgers and then doing like air fryer chips, oven chips. Did you know they're not even that bad? So oven chips, if you look on the back of the packet, and get the ones that are just potato, it's like 98% potato and 2% sunflower oil or something. It's basically just potato. It's not got added like flour and stuff in. I think, again, Aldi, the ones that are the highest potato content are the cheapest ones they do. I don't know why. Liam's got a lot of intolerances, so that's why I know about that. So just get frozen chips, buy some burgers and some bread buns, and then just load it with all the yummy stuff that you want on your burger. So my best fakeaway ideas would be oh God, I'm going to sound like an advert for Aldi. Aldi pizzas with extra chicken. Aldi burgers with chips. What's the next one? A curry, homemade or bought. I just had another one that came into my mind. Oh yeah, they do it. Aldi advert. A chicken shawarma in Aldi. Just go to the fridge aisle in Aldi and look at all the box stuff and then get something like that for your takeaway. No, they do a shawarma, and if you have that with a flatbread and some like mint with the mint yogurt it comes with and a load of salad, it's literally like a kebab. They're delicious, really delicious. Highly recommend. We sometimes have those for our lunch in the week, to be fair. Hopefully that's given you some good ideas. And then the same on Sunday, like breakfast again, just have your breakfast. And try and plan. I think if you are finding weekends the most difficult, plan it. So if you're not really into doing like a proper full week meal plan, just plan the times that are difficult. And I think another downfall is when when you're just doing one weekly shop, this is another trap I fell into. We're going to do one weekly shop, so you get to Saturday morning and be like, oh, I've got no food, and then you end up just like getting takeaway or eating out. I mean, it's expensive, but also it's obviously not optimal for your goals. So now we tend to do 2 weekly shops, which sounds ridiculous, but we do like a top-up shop on a Thursday or a Friday, so that we've got like a fridge full of fruit and veg again, because it doesn't last long enough. So they're my top tips for the weekend. And we're done faking my ideas. Okay, balance when socializing. This is so good, this question. Also hard to implement immediately. It takes practice, is what I'm going to say, but we'll get into it. Sorry, I've got a really itchy nose today. I don't know why. I feel like, you know, when you wash your hair and then it's a bit fluffy, I feel like it's just sticking to me. Balance when socializing. What I would say, I know that the lady who's written this one is a mom. I think you've got to choose your treats, basically. I don't really like to say treats because, you know, we want to eat everything and have a balanced life. But I think you've got to choose what you're saying yes to. So, for example, if you're at a kid's birthday party and there's cake, and one of your mum thinks like, oh, do you have some cake? And it's like an Asda shop bought, and you don't really fancy it, but it's there, so I'll have it for the sake of it. That's a no. Do not do that, because you might be out at the pub in the evening and then you might rather have a pint. So it's about like choosing where you're using your calories up. And what I would say is try and track, because if you just sack off tracking, and I don't want anyone tracking like till the end of time at all, that is not how we're going to live our lives. But if you track for long enough, then you'll learn how to eat without tracking. And what I mean by that is you'll know, like, I probably have like had enough food today, or well, we might be out in a cafe and be thinking, oh, I really want to slice that cake, but then you know that you're out with the girls later, and you'll start making these kind of conscious choices. And it's not about like restricting yourself. It's just about saying yes and no to things that align or don't align with your goals. Like, and just having a bit of discipline. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having, I think it's really good to have discipline. You can't just say yes to yourself all the time. Sorry, I know we'd love to, but you just can't. So let's say you've been at a kid's birthday party, there's some cake, it looked all right, but you said no. But you're going out to the beer garden and you have 2 pints instead. You probably easily stayed within your calories, especially if you track the beers. I think a big mistake people make when they're socializing is they just completely ignore the fact that they're socializing. Then probably think, oh, well, I've already overeaten, I'll just carry on. But it's not usually the case. If you do track, you'll be very surprised at how much leeway you have got in your calories. This goes for the weekend as well. And don't forget that most of you, I think you're all in a calorie deficit. If you're in a calorie deficit, God, my nose, like a coke addict. I swear I'm not taking cocaine. if you're in a calorie deficit, you've still got a bit of maneuver up until maintenance. And then after maintenance, you've still got a few more 100 calories. Well, then you go into a surplus, but it would be hundreds of calories a day, every day, until you're actually gaining weight in that surplus. You don't just overeat one day and then suddenly gain 3 pounds. It's obviously an ongoing thing. So if you're let's say you're on 1,800 calories, and then at the weekend you have 2,000 calories on Saturday and Sunday, you've probably only gone up to your maintenance. So you won't have done anything damaging. The only time that it will become an issue is if you assume that you've ruined your progress and then you just carry on overeating. That's the mistake people make, the assumption and the continuation. Whereas if you were out for a bottomless brunch on Saturday and then have a takeaway, but you've tracked like a couple of bottles of Prosecco, you've put a pizza in, okay, you've had 2,500 calories, but you're back on it Sunday morning, you're like, no, this is my normal breakfast. You won't have done any damage that weekend, really. in the grand scheme of things. Like, you might not have lost weight, but you probably haven't gained any. Whereas if you wake up Sunday morning, oh, well, I had so much to eat and drink, I've definitely ruined it. And then you continue and get a McDonald's breakfast, and blah, 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 blah. That's when you're undoing your progress. So, yeah, with the socializing, with the socializing, there's two things to remember, like maybe three. You can track your socializing, and it will be fine. And it's really good to see it laid out. And you can say no to things. If you're not bothered, if you don't love it and you're not like, oh my God, yeah, like, oh, I really want that, don't have it, because you will feel better when you have that moment where someone offers you something and you're like, oh yeah, that's me, that is. And then you'll be really glad that you didn't finish your kids' like scraggy ice cream or whatever it was, or that you didn't order a pudding for the sake of ordering a pudding in the pub because, well, we're out socialising and everyone else is having a pudding, I'm going to have one, but you didn't really want one because you're more of a starters girl. Like, that's the difference. Okay, hopefully that helps. Drop messages in the group chat if you want any more advice on any of these things. The next one, these questions are ace this week. Love it. This is a really good one. Finding eating out stressful with the kids. And when I first started reading this, I was thinking, well, yeah, it is stressful eating out with kids. But then I realised, as I continued reading, she said that because she doesn't have any time to choose, so she feels very rushed and has 30 seconds to make a decision, and then feels stressed that the choice isn't aligning with her goals. Firstly, I absolutely love that you're this self-aware. That is amazing. Like, wow. And that you want to make choices that align with your goals. You're going to do really well. Second thing, further in the check-in form, this girl answered her own question when asked what's she going to do to help herself this week, or I can't remember what the question was, whatever it was. And she said she's going to go and look at the menu now, which is exactly what my answer was going to be. So you've answered your own question. My advice, if you're eating out, always, unless you know the restaurant, or like if you go in just you and your partner and you know you can just peruse the menu at your leisure, look at the menu in advance. This is so important, and this actually helps with the socializing question as well. Look at the menu in advance so you're not making a split stressed decision. Find your protein. Maybe there's some fish on the menu, maybe there's some chicken, maybe there's like a tofu curry. I know that it is harder for vegetarians, like it tends to be very carb heavy, like a risotto or something, so that's like a different struggle. But if you're a meat eater, aim for the protein, even if it means getting a couple of starters instead of a main. I sometimes do this. If there's, for example, mussels on the menu, but it's a starter, I love mussels, and they're just pure protein. And I just love them. I could eat them all day long. I'll just say, can I have that as a main? Like, don't be afraid to just like make your own meal up. If there's a couple of starters you want and all the mains are like massive and heavy, and you're like, I don't really want I don't know, I can't think of an example. I don't want a plate of pasta or a burger, or you just want a little something. Maybe you want like a couple of starters and a side salad, and then you're going to have some of your partner's chips or something, for example. So yeah, you answered your own question there. Look at the menu in advance. And if any of you are eating out and you're stuck, drop the menu into the group and I will help you look at the menu, and we can look at it together, or come to the call on Friday and we can look at the menu as a group. That would be quite a fun activity, actually. I might do that. So yeah, that was all the questions for today. Absolutely loved them all. I hope that you found my answers really helpful. Let me know if anything didn't make sense, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye. And that's your weekly Kick Up the Sass. Now go and take action. Stay strong, stay sexy. And if you've not already, scan your QR code and come and say hi to me on Instagram. I love hearing from you. See you next time.